made for a golden wedding anniversary.
We have just been offered a set of pieces by Folot that do not in fact belong to the furniture category. It consists of 5 hair combs with a range of motifs that are typical of French Art Nouveau, including both plant and animal designs. These are relatively rare pieces. Even the Decorative Arts Museum possesses only 2 examples of Folot's jewelry. The Musée d'Orsay's collection of Art Nouveau hair combs is not very big, but we do have some beautiful ones, including pieces by Lalique and Lucien Gaillard.
Shall we start the voting?
Here are the ballots. Okay, they're all here. 7, 8. There are only 2 negative votes, and they concern the 2 gilt cups.
That means everything has been acquired.
Yes, unanimously.
Thank you.
Once the commission's ritual is over, another one inevitably follows. On the back of the work, 2 symbolic letters are applied, RF for the French Republic, to indicate its official entry into one of the nation's greatest collections. In a few days, The Bath by Vallotton will find its way into one of the future exhibition rooms that the museum is quietly redesigning, an additional surprise for the public. Apollonie Sabatier, gracing the entrance to the central nave, a figurehead for the museum. It is your white marble body that visitors come upon first. A rich banker, the man who loved your body, wanted to immortalize the voluptuousness of your generously offered curves. He commissioned a sculptor to make a cast of your figure. A cast, the whim of a man in love, but also an artistic heresy, blasphemous realism. The imprint of your body so faithfully reproduced, so intimately revealed, continues a century later to create a stir and to stir our desire, as much as the scandal that it caused during your time. Apollonie Sabatier. Charles Baudelaire, the lover of your soul, also wanted to immortalize his passion for you. To you, his Madonna, he dedicated the most beautiful poems of his Flowers of Evil.
Plaster is usually modeled. That's what proves the integrity of the artist's work. And according to the classical conception of sculpture that predominated during the 1850s until 1900, that was something that was very important. Therefore, to use a cast, in order to save time and to produce a more realistic figure, which was one of the aims of this piece, was a process that was considered at the time unacceptable to both art critics and artists. The fact that the artist used a cast molded from life makes the body much more lifelike. If we examine the sculpture very closely, this can be seen in the way her breasts are spread apart, in her very generous hips, and the cellulite that can be detected behind the statue, all of which may seem more apparent to people nowadays. And so a figure like this that clearly depicts a woman on the verge of or in the throes of orgasm is something that would cause a huge scandal. In addition to the issue of the professional code of ethics, that is, of artistic creation, the sculpture also caused a scandal in social circles because, since everyone knew that the model was Apollonie Sabatier, it fully displayed the body of one of the muses, of one of the beauties of the demi-monde who was the talk of the town at the time.
I wish to build for you, Madonna, my mistress, an altar buried deep within my pain, and in the darkest corner of my heart, far from worldly desire and mocking eyes, hollow out a niche enameled in azure and gold, where you shall stand, a statue, full of wonder. Your gown shall be my desire, quivering, undulating, my desire rising and falling, swaying on the peaks, resting in the valleys, and clothing your pink and white body with a kiss. If I cannot, despite the perseverance of my art, carve out a silver moon for you to step upon, I shall put the serpent that is eating my heart under your heels.
Look at the forms, it's almost like a landscape. It's almost like a landscape. But again, you've got a very sensual approach to the female body. So let's move on.
这个想法很奇特，从大钟可以看到巴黎市，可能从里边可以看到外边，就相当于一个窗户那样的大钟。然后现在它外面它里边是铁的嘛，它是铁的。
How could anyone not see Gustav Mahler as one of the most emblematic musicians of the period that concerns the Musée d'Orsay? He was born at the beginning of the 1860s and he died in 1911. His lifetime thus exactly spans the period represented by the Musée d'Orsay, even if his music would go on to become emblematic of the next century, and indeed completely inundate the whole of the 20th century. Mahler asked Rodin to make a bust of him, and Rodin actually made several busts of the musician. Mahler was struck by a disease that literally carried him away. The Austrians were deeply moved and came out to pay their respects as his train passed, since they knew he was dying. More and more people gathered as the train approached Vienna, which shows what an important figure he was at the time.
As the 20th century dawned, the din of war was approaching, and it would soon overwhelm the world. Thousands of soldiers passed through Orsay and were carried off by dark trains to the front. World War I and its massacres, men in trenches, anxious women waiting, also in train stations, for any little message, clue, or sign of life from their loved ones. The same scenes would be repeated one war later. The 1920s. Thousands of travelers would traipse through the Orsay train station and its hotel, dazzled by Paris, but a little lost beneath the immense canopy of this fabulous traveling machine. Anonymous travelers as well as monarchs, to whom the Orsay Hotel would give a most royal treatment. It had offered its rooms overlooking the Seine to its most illustrious guests, welcomed the merry bourgeoisie into its gilt-edged banquet hall. The atmosphere was one of constant festivity, and yet, curiously enough, there are no pictures. Beyond the glitter of the chandeliers, what remains of these festivities? This photograph found in one of Thomas Mann's notebooks, a dinner one evening in 1926, during an apparently light-hearted jaunt to Paris.
Wednesday, January 20th, Palais d'Orsay Hotel, Quai d'Orsay. A huge building with an imposing lobby filled as yet with the sleepy atmosphere of early morning. The Palais d'Orsay is mainly a hotel for tourists who are just passing through. Although its suites are luxurious, it is not equipped to accommodate lengthy stays. It is, in addition, the place where the middle-class bourgeoisie in Paris comes to socialize. On any of the floors, you will find servants in tailcoats with gold chains around their necks to welcome and direct you. Young people flirt in the stairways, and the music is deplorable. We had our breakfast brought to the room. We enjoy our tea, savoring with even greater delight the pleasures that life provides when traveling. Afterwards, we find it very pleasant, after a restless night and until the city begins to stir, to doze for another hour in our comfortable beds.
But Thomas Mann's face already seems to be shadowed by a look of fear. Once again, war was approaching, an even deadlier war that would drive Germany